Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the best baseball gambling show out there, Andrew. I don't know if you knew this. It is Say Hey Plays. Welcome back, everybody. Different pod, same guys from the Pub Sports Radio Baseball Show. My name is Jose Bouquet. That is Andrew Santangelo over there. And we are going to get right into it because we've got a meaty show today. And we are talking about the best division in baseball, the AL East, my favorite division for a number of reasons. And it's going to be a fun time, Andrew. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting division. So I got some things to say about this division.
Hold on. Can you say it one more time? You're muted. My bad.
Oh, that was your fault this time.
Yeah, no.
I said it's going to be interesting, the division. I got some things to say, and I think it might surprise you.
All right, good. I'm excited to see it, Andrew. So we'll start with the division winners from last year, the World Series runners-up, the Tampa Bay Rays, Andrew. The Tampa Bay Rays, they are a curious case in Major League Baseball right now. I'll admit it, Andrew. A very curious case. They lose from last year. A lot of guys. Naming a couple would be a disservice. But let's go ahead and get through some. Blake Snell, ever heard of him? Charlie Morton, ever heard of him? Hunter Renfroe and Aaron Loop round out the losses there. Pretty tough there. And additions, they picked up Colin McHugh, sure. Rich Hill, everyone loves Rich Hill. They bring back Chris Archer, love that. Michael Wacha, and Hunter Strickland from Bryce Harper fight fame, if you remember that. A lot of guys and a lot of prospects as well. Andrew, how do you feel about the Tampa Bay Rays this year?
I'm not a fan of the roster, if I'm being honest. I think they took a big step backward this offseason. I think it's to no surprise. It's something we've seen in the past as well. But you know what? I say that, and they've surprised me in the past. So who's to say they're not going to surprise me again this year? But off the bat, I think there's a lot of holes in this team. If you go back to the World Series last year, you know my thoughts on Glasnow. I think he was a little overrated. I don't know, Ryan Yarbrough, I don't know what he's going to be. Chris Archer struggled. Michael Wacha, you don't know what you're going to get. Rich Hill, another year. I mean, he's kind of keeps just finding ways to continue to play on and play on. I mean, he's in his 40s now, so who knows what you're going to get out of him. You don't really have a solidified bullpen. You don't know what you'll use Jose Alvarado, use your lefty there. So we'll see what they get in that sense. And then again, their offense got a lot of holes in there as well. So I don't really like this team, if I'm being honest. But I'm interested to see what you have.
You saying that the Rays don't have a good bullpen is blasphemy. The Rays do have a good bullpen. I will not hear that because we know, Andrew, what they're going to do. They're going to take a couple guys. They're going to make them into studs. Pete Fairbanks is still there. Nick Anderson's still there. Diego Castillo is still there. They're still a good squad. Chaz Rowe has been dominating people. I don't know if you've noticed this. That's the new guy. Chaz Rowe has been throwing flames. So, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you had guys that, yes, you had a guy like Nick Anderson who played really well, but you have a good back end. I wouldn't say the whole bullpen's necessarily well. I don't like the whole whatever they call it, the opener thing. I don't know. I never really been a fan of this Rays roster. And I think you lost a lot this offseason. And yes, you got starters that fit your system well, like a Rich Hill. He's probably not going to last to the 7-8 innings, but that's not what this team wants. I understand that. Same thing with Chris Archer. You're going to hope that he goes the 4 or 5 innings they want you to go, and then you turn it over to the pen. But I think that's going to wear out at some point, and you kind of saw it toward the end of last year and in the back end of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I still think this is a good squad. I'm not as low as them as you are. I was down on them coming in, but now seeing how down on them you are, I mean, it's much more different than I am. So I think that's very interesting. Best case, worst case for you, Andrew?
I'd say best case is a second place finish for them if they find a way to get second. I think. Hey, call me disrespectful. You look at we'll get in the top 2 teams of this division. I think I think they're at least 5 wins better than this Rays team. I would love to be proven wrong. I mean, I got nothing against Tampa Bay. I just, some of the names are just questionable to me. I think worst case is, I don't know what the worst case is because they're not going to finish worse than Baltimore. So I guess worst case would be missing the playoffs. I know because I don't say it was a playoff team anyway. So I'd say worst case would be a fourth place finish to the Red Sox, but that would even surprise me in that sense. But I would say worst case would probably be you're kind of at that 500 level. You can't make any moves at the deadline. You don't want to sell or buy, and you're kind of just stuck here with nothing to do.
Okay, well, there's a lot of slander from the Rays, so that's lovely. Best case is win a division for me. I still think this team can win a division. They have the best, front office in baseball. Arguably, the best baseball ops. They know everything. They're always ahead of the curve. They've always got a step ahead of everyone. Andrew, I think this is a little bit of your old, traditional baseball fan, not liking the Rays here, since you don't like the opener and all this stuff. But we don't have to get into all that today.
That's fine, but you look at the offense, like outside of Randy, I don't really value this offense too high either.
Yeah,
so like they're not going to be able to hit with the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, they won't, but hopefully they can pitch them to death. That's what the Rays' plan is. I have worst case missing the playoffs. I guess I'll piggyback off of what you said. I think that 81 and 81, mid-tier nonsense would be not ideal for a Rays squad that won't be getting fans in the stands because no one goes to Rays games anyways. So be interested to see what happens. Player to watch out for, Andrew. I will go first. I have Willy Adames as my guy to watch out for. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to Willie this year. I mean, he's been their shortstop for the last couple of years. He was really big for them in the postseason, numerous amounts of big hits, but everyone knows about that name coming up. Wander Franco, number one prospect in baseball. He's supposed to be the next big thing. He's a shortstop, and Willy Adames is there blocking him. Kevin Cash. What is this? Is that the Rays manager's name? I'm fucking blanking hard right now.
Kevin Cash. Yeah, Kevin Cash. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Cash.
Well, unless something happened and he changed, but
I don't know. I just blanked right there. Kevin Cash basically was like, yeah, Willy Adames is a great player, and he's the reason why the Wanderer's not up because he's been playing well. And if Willie can, shore up the defense because he's not a good defensive shortstop. He's supposed to be an offensive shortstop, but his defense has not been great. Shore that up. Maybe we'll see some second base action. I don't know. Maybe we'll even see him go to DH. But I'm watch for Willie because that's how we'll see where the Rays season goes. If he struggles and they bring up Wander Franco, then it'll be interesting. But if he stays up there, then I think the Rays will be a little boring, and we'll know that the Rays are not really trying to win this year. Because if they don't bring up Wander Franco this year, then we'll see some that manipulation of those years.
All right, well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think you'll see him up anyway at some point this year just because of the talent he's supposed to be, whether it's because of a bad – was it?
I hope so.
I mean, I just think he's that good, and eventually he'll be that call-up, whether it's a good year or a bad year. I think eventually you'll need that extra piece off the bench, so we'll see.
Your guy, Andrew.
I'm going to go with the guy the Rays basically said, we're putting all of our chips into this starting pitcher. And it's kind of the same. After you guys see the Brewer or the NL Central preview, I'm going to kind of like a Woodruff. I'm going with Tyler Glasnow. I think you'll understand where this Rays team is from where he's at. I think it all depends on what kind of year you get from him. I mean, if he's going to go out there with a 4.08 ERA like he did last year, I don't think this team's going to be able to get very far. I mean, you gave up Blake Snell, you gave up Charlie Moore, and I gave up on you. Sorry, they moved on from the Rays via trade and via free agency. So you kind of said, okay, Tyler, this is going to be your rotation. We're going to give it to you. We're going to bring in other veterans here that guys have struggled that you hope kind of return to the way they used to be. So they're going all chips on him. So he's got the pressure on him. So I'm going to ride the pressure on him as well. And I want to see him prove me wrong and get to that kind of Cy Young caliber pitcher. I think a lot of people believe he is that. Again, last postseason, I think I said it when we were going over their games. I wasn't as high on him. I always thought Blake Snell was better than him. And I think, again, it was a mistake losing those two guys and having him as the one.
All right, I think it'll be interesting. Let's get into the MyBookie over-unders here, Andrew. 86.5 for these Rays. It's going to be a very interesting year, like we've said. 86.5 for the over-under, 16-1 for World Series, and plus 400 to win the division. Andrew, where are you going here?
86.5. I think no surprise by the way this has started. I'm taking the under here for the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll say about 83 wins, 83 wins.
I will go under as well. The streak continues of us agreeing.
Okay. You talk about the slanders from the Rays, and basically you're saying the same thing I do, is they don't have a chance by taking under there.
No, I
So
said
basically you just agreed with everything I said in the preview.
no. I said they can finish number 2. I think they can finish like 84, 85 wins. I think it'll be close. But I think this team could finish second in this division, no problem. We wouldn't even look twice. So I do not agree with everything you said. I'm not with him, St. Petersburg. Blame that guy. Blame that guy. Aim your hate at that guy.
AJ underscore Santangelo.
All right, let's move on to the great power in this division, Andrew. The team everyone hates, the New York Yankees. Yay. The New York Yankees, they came in second in this division. I believe they were a wild card team. Best case, worst case, Andrew, for the New York Yankees. I'd like to get this over with quickly. Best case, they win the division. Worst case, I think they make the wild card. I think this team doesn't miss the playoffs. Even if they were in danger to miss the playoffs, they would buy their way into the playoffs. So I think we can both skip over that pretty quickly, right?
No. Best case, best case, I go with you in division. Worst case is they miss the playoffs.
They're not going to miss the playoffs.
But I will get into it later. But I'm going to say surprising things about this division. But yeah, worst case is this team misses the playoffs.
Okay. Additions and subtractions: Derek Dietrich, Jay Bruce, Darren O'Day, Corey Kluber, Jamison Taillon, and Greg Allen all joined the squad. Notable from that is Darren O'Day, Kluber, and Taillon. Subtractions: they lose Ben Heller, Jonathan Holder, Tommy Canley. Tanaka goes back to Japan. Paxton goes back to Seattle. J.A. Happ and Adam Ottavino comes to Boston. Andrew, who's your player to watch on this Yankees squad?
Listen, it's a guy I love, and I have to say him because it is Corey Kluber, and the reason why it's Corey Kluber is because this season, you basically know what you're going to get out of the Yankees offense, right? Where has this team struggled in the past few years? It has been the starting pitching. They haven't got what they wanted out of Paxton. They haven't got what they wanted out of J. Happ. They haven't got what they wanted out of Tanaka. And now you're going to run into this year with Corey Kluber, your number 2 starter, who really, if you think about it, hasn't pitched in, say, 2-3 years at this point in his career. So you really don't know what you're going to get from him. So you're really looking at a guy you're hoping to be a 2-starter that he might not even be in some teams' rotations because of the injury issues. I mean, think about how long it took him to sign and everything. So they're taking a chance on him. Obviously, I love Corey Kluber, so I hope it comes out here and pitches very well. But I think that's a very risky move by the Yankees, and it's either going to go very well for him and help them win the division, or it's possibly going to cost them and help them miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I think after those bullpens that Corey Kluber threw, every team in America wanted him, apparently. For those, they must have seen something in those bullpens that must have realized that he was back. I'm not sure. I haven't been as high on Corey Kluber, and these 2 injury years will be interesting to see. My guy is on that offense. I would say my real guy is health. If the Yankees actually stay healthy, they will be a better squad than last year. But my actual guy is Gio Urshela. I like talking about Gio Urshela. He was a prospect who was, that weird, like, oh, he's defensive, but he can't get the hitting together, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly, Gio Urshela comes up with the Yankees and just starts smashing balls. Like, starts absolutely crushing balls, does his thing, wins that third base job pretty easily, and has been a third baseman now for a couple of years. He's 8th in expected batting average. He was 33rd in expected WOBA last year, at 381. He's still good at defense. His outs above average stats is kind of low for what you would think, but I mean, I think it's pretty well known around the league that he's one of the better defensive third basemen out there. And I just need to see it, Andrew, again, because Mr. Gio Urshela's rise was conveniently with the rise of the juice ball, Andrew. So will this juice ball reduction, whatever we're going to call it, the nerfing of the ball, will that affect Gio Urshela's hitting? Will that affect all of the Yankees hitting? Because we're apparently going to make it a little less toned down. Will that reduce the Yankee factors? I don't know. We'll see. And I think Gio Urshela is definitely that guy that if the balls are tangibly lessened, then it might hurt him the most.
I think it's going to hurt everybody, to be honest. I think you've been used to what it's been the last couple of years. So, no, I see what you're saying, though. I think he's going to have to play a pivotal part in this offense, especially depending on health of other guys, like an Aaron Judge, who you've seen get hurt in the past, like Aaron Hicks, who's been hurt in the past, like Giancarlo Stanton, who's been hurt in the past. So I think he's going to have to come up big for this Yankee offense.
Yes. Let's move on. Over under. My bookie says that the over under for this Yankee squad is 95.5 to win the World Series, plus 600. And division, they're a minus 190 favorite to win this division, Andrew. I'll make this quick. I'll go over. I don't want to expand on the reasons why, but the Yankees are a solid ball club. I hope that they find out what their bullpen is, because we always assume the Yankees are gonna have a good bullpen, but Aroldis Chapman is not great in big moments. Zach Britton is hurt right now. His elbow is barking. Woo, woo, woo. It's barking, and we'll see what's going on there. And then Darren O'Day, I mean, he's been on the Orioles forever, dude. I mean, we could say that about Zach
Yeah.
back in the day, but at least the Orioles were winning. But Darren O'Day, sure. He hit someone in the dick with a slider recently in spring training. So there. I'll take the over. Division, they'll probably win it. I would not bet the World Series though. NL, AL pennant, maybe. Let me look up those odds for you while you go ahead and tell us what you think, Andrew.
So this is where we're going to finally disagree. I'm taking the under on the Yankees 95.5 win total for multiple different reasons. Again, you look at this pitching staff, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. Zach Britton's already out. You already mentioned Chapman's struggles. Again, you basically have one true starter on this starting rotation, and then you're going to find out what you have after that. So you're kind of going in with big question marks. And then you don't know the health. You mentioned that on the top half of when we this preview for the Yankees, you don't know what you can get out of health, and they're already kind of getting hurt by it. It hurt them last year. It's probably the reason why they lost the division to the Rays. So I think again, I'm taking the under for 95.5, and I'll save the second part of that for here in a little bit.
Okay. Well, they are plus 250 to win the AL pennant. So we'll move on there. We go on to the Great White North, the Toronto Blue Jays, or Toronto. You can't say that second T, Andrew. Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know if they're playing in the Rogers Center. I think they're still playing in Florida this year. I couldn't tell you honestly. I mean, the Blue Jays
Or Florida
or
or Buffalo.
Buffalo. I don't know who's playing in Florida. I don't know. I guess it's the NBA is messing me up too.
Yeah, the Raptors are down in Florida.
Yeah. So the Blue Jays squad is a very interesting team. Young names that are finally maturing. We're finally starting to seeing some of the things that we were expecting. Vladdy, everyone's talking about him dropping like 40 pounds. But let's talk about this team as a whole, Andrew. Let's start first with best case, worst case again. Best case, worst case for this Toronto Blue Jays squad.
I'd say worst case is some of the starters slash reliever and Kirby Yates you're banking on don't prove to be the guys they were. I think they're putting in for Tanner Roark to get some innings. So if they struggle, you kind of miss the playoffs. But that's going to be my worst case, even though this team's got a lot of hype around them with the young offense and Guerrero and all them kind of coming up. So I think best case scenario going off of that, the hype is best case is win the division. This team really can win this division. And I think that is the best case for them. And again, you win the division, you go on, and you don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, especially if you're not facing that wild card or top team. You can steal that first round. So I'd say best case is win the division, then win a playoff series.
Yeah, I like this team as well. I'd say best case is definitely win the division. They can fight with the Yankees in there, maybe even the Rays. The three-way battle for the AL East is something we have not seen in a while, so I think that'd be fun to watch. Worst case, they miss the playoffs and none of their young players take that step. Kind of piggybacking off what you said of the starters, we don't see a step forward from Vladdy and all of his weight loss. Biggio doesn't do his thing. Bichette is still injured, injury prone, and doesn't do what we expect him to do. All of that would sum up into a really bad year for the Blue Jays, especially since they've been spending money. Additions and subtractions. I did not mention this with this squad. We should probably do it since this team definitely has the most notable additions and subtractions. Additions, Tommy Malone comes over from Atlanta and the Orioles. David Phelps, one Marcus Simeon. Andrew, your favorite shortstop and second baseman now. Kirby Yates, as you mentioned earlier, the closer from the Padres, who got banged up last year, led the league in saves, comes over, takes the ninth inning for the Blue Jays. Tyler Chatwood, Steven Matz traded from the Mets. And some guy named Jorge Springer. George Springer comes over, the big position player signing from this offseason. He goes over there. He's going to take center field. One of the better center. I think second best. Mike Trout's person, but one of the better center fielder in the AL, and I'll be happy to see him away from the Houston Astros. It's like shit. I don't even know how to describe it. Just away from the Houston Astros.
Or if the Astros been in your division. So I get to face them more.
Yeah, exactly. So best case, worst case, we went over it. My player to look out for, Andrew. Kind of mainstream if you watch these Orioles, because he was their best hitter last year, is Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar Hernandez smoked balls last year. 16 home runs. His X slug was 608, which was top 3%. Hard hit percentage was 53%. Like I said earlier, if he hits the ball, he's going to hit it hard. Top 2% in exit velo, too, at 93 miles an hour. Can you do it again? Is my real concern, Andrew. I want, the greats are really determined by consistency. Teoscar pops off this year. Can you do it for a full 162? And where do you play defensively? His defense is not good. Are you going to DH? Well, Rowdy Tellez is your DH typically. Or are you going to put him more at catcher? Rowdy is a good hitter, and I think you want that bat in the lineup. So I think it'll be interesting to see how his defense progresses as well.
Well, that's what I like about this team. You mentioned all those different positions. I mean, I think they're one of the deeper teams in this league, so I think that's going to bode well for him for this season. So, but no, I like that pick. I think he can keep it up. I think it's his power is going to have to be there because I think that might be where if he takes a step back, this team might hurt from last year.
Yeah, you're right. Who's your guy?
So I was actually going through 3 different guys when I was doing this between Yates, Biggio, and Semien, because I think he's one of the most underrated signings this offseason. When all said and done, I locked it down with Kirby Yates. And the reason why I went with that one is because I think the offense is going to end up being fine. So I think where this team is going to pinpoint here is assuming this team does have the lead late in games, they need the Yates from the 2 years ago Padres. I know he dealt with an injury last year, which probably led to some of that off kind of pitching off last year. But if he can't get back to that Yates, this team isn't going to bode well if they're not going to be able to hold it down, because you look at some of the other names in there. They have David Phelps coming over, but he had a good year until the trade deadline when he got traded to the Phillies. So what Phelps are you going to kind of get out of him as the setup man? Then and then Yates is going to have to be the guy to come in and close the door down for this Blue Jays team, or else they're going to spiral in the wrong direction.
All right, Andrew. My bookie over-unders. One of the more interesting over-unders, I'll admit. Over-under right now for the Toronto Blue Jays is at 87.5. 87.5. Pretty high number for the Blue Jays. World Series odds at 25-1. Plus 330 to win a division. Andrew, I have a feeling that you're about to tell me something that will interest the people.
I think that you say 87.5. I'm going over. I think that's a lock, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my locks. I'm really high on this Blue Jays team. I guess I'm drinking the Kool-Aid for this hype train on the Blue Jays. Again, I think they got a lot of different young pieces that I think you saw what the young pieces can do in the Padres last year. And I think this team's ready to make that move, kind of like the Padres did last season.
Wow, and Andrew Locke. That's going to be interesting to see. I hope that they don't victimize us like the Reds last year, because I'm also going to go over. I think it'll be a close over. I think it'll be 89, 88 around there, maybe even 90 wins for this Blue Jays team. It really depends on how far we're going to go with this pitching, man. How far are we going to go with this pitching? Can Ryu be that ace? Can he be that number one guy? Is he a glorified number 2? Or is he an ace? Is Tanner Roark a number 3, or is he a number 4, or is he not even a rotation piece? It'll be interesting to see how that stat shakes up. And I like Steven Matz. I've always been a Steven Matz guy. So I think Steven Matz could be a legitimate 2-3 guy. So hopefully, they finish up, or they fix up that bullpen and the starters, and maybe we'll have a nice AL East race this year.
Yeah, I think their rotation real quick has depth too, and that's what I like about this as well. So if one guy struggles, they have a guy to fill in.
Okay, so let's move on to Andrew, the 4th place team. A team that we did not think would be finishing 4th place, the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles, in one of the weirder years, they had a great start. Andrew, I came on this show and I told you, after I watched the first series against the Red Sox, I told you this Baltimore Orioles team is pretty good, and they're for sure better than the Red Sox. I told you that their pitching was better than the Red Sox's, and all that turned out to be true, apparently. They add Matt Harvey and Felix Hernandez out of basically retirement. They give both of those guys a shot to make to the rotation. Freddie Galvis comes over from Cincinnati to fill a hole that they have from Jose Iglesias leaving, going to the Angels, arguably their best hitter last year. Hanser Alberto leaves. Renato Nunez and Alex Cobb goes to the Angels as well. Hopefully that doesn't turn into Dylan Bundy 2.0 for them. Andrew, I'd like to hear a best case, worst case, because this is a very similar to the Pirate zone here.
I agree. Very similar to the Pirates. I think, I guess we said on the last one, best case is you get that first pick and you get to choose which vanity pitcher you want from their solidified rotation there in college. I think that's best case for them is you see some development and you still get that one pick. Obviously, you have a lot of young guys and Pedro Severino from last season kind of getting that call up. So we'll see what they're able to do. Worst case,
Andrew, I'm going to interrupt you real fast. I'm going to say my favorite COVID update thing about this year is that your draft years are all fucked up right now. Is that the draft year, they've already got the draft order scheduled for this year.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not even getting any of Vandy Boy. So I just want to let you know that now. But I wanted to. All
right, real quick, I'm going to call you out then from the NL Central one because you said the same thing for the Pirates.
Well, they just have to not fuck up and not pick, or they have to not fuck up and pick Kumar Rocker. They have the one. They just need to pick it. So
hey, well, that's another discussion.
Yeah. So continue what you were saying. Worst case.
But no, I mean, worst case is you kind of. I guess then you really don't know who you're fighting for. So then worst case is you don't see any development from these guys and you stand pat.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, man. It's gonna be super weird. By the way, the draft order for you, Andrew, it's Pirates, Rangers, Tigers, Red Sox, Orioles. So I just want to let you know that.
So they'll get the second Vandy pitcher.
No.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually read the other day. What was it Jack Leader? Is that his name?
Leiter.
I read someone had him going first overall.
Good. I mean, he's fucking great. Let's not talk about those guys. Let's talk about him on a different show. Players to look out for, Andrew. My guy is Anthony Santander. Every time I watch the Red Sox Orioles, Andrew, every time it was Anthony Santander doing something good. He was great offensively. He's got pop. It's going to be interesting. He's in the 88th percentile for X slug. He's at 11 home runs, 77th percentile for weighted WOBA, and his exit velo was 88.6. So all pretty good across the board, especially for an Orioles player. He's under team control for a lot of years. He's gonna be in the orange and black for a while, I think. So I think if he continues to show some development, maybe we get some bodies.
Maybe they need bodies, that's for sure.
Yeah, who's your guy?
I think I'm going to take a little bit of an obvious one here in Pedro Severino. I think this team just doesn't have many guys to choose from this upcoming year, so kind of look toward one of the younger guys to make that step forward. You already mentioned the rotation and all the older guys there, so you're not really getting anyone in that sense. But I think this guy, he's been arguably the top top catching prospect since coming out with some of those college guys and from that draft. I know he's from the Dominican Republic, but you saw him with the guy from the Dodgers. I'm blanking on his name. Came up Will Smith last year. So you kind of had those two as the top prospects here, and then MLB from the catching standpoint. So I want to see him compete with Smith for one of the younger kind of catching prospects here, and see him turn into that guy he's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird to see Adley Rutschman come up in maybe. I don't think he'll come up this year. Maybe next year if we're lucky, and we'll see what happens to Pedro if he goes to first base, DH. Who knows? And Chris Davis is always there. So, special shout out to
Chris Davis needs to retire.
Shout out to Chris Davis. Keep collecting your checks. Don't retire, good sir. Shout out to Ryan Mountcastle as well, who's getting a lot of hype. He should be good this year as well. Andrew, I'm gonna end the Orioles with this because their over/unders at 63.5. World Series 80-1. Division is 10-1. We'll both take the over or unders.
I was gonna
say we'll both take.
We're taking the under.
But my guess here, my bookie little thing for you, Andrew, is I want you to guess what their 2021 expected payroll is to be.
The Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we'll go $28 million.
$60 million for the Orioles.
60.
60, yeah, because Chris Davis is probably making 28 on his own. I think
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Chris Davis is making like 25, I think, on his own.
I think everybody else is on like 5 or lower.
Yeah, no, that's the Orioles for you. So we'll both go under there. I mean, that's pretty obvious. The Orioles, hopefully they have a little magic run to start off again, but we are not expecting much from the Orioles again, and we apologize if they prove us wrong again.
23 million.
Yeah, he's making a lot of money. He has like one more year after this one too. So shout out to Chris. All right, Andrew, it's time.
Let's hear it.
The last place team from the AL East, the Boston Red Sox, in their worst season since the 100th year anniversary of Fenway Park. I believe that was 2012, 2011. Those years start to run in together. Really bad. They obviously didn't have Alex Cora last year. I told you that they were going to be a bad team, and I took their over last year anyways. So shame on me. Additions and subtractions include Danny Santana, who has a foot infection, so who knows what he's doing. Hirakusa Sawamura. I'm trying to say that name right more. He is a KBO pitcher that the Red Sox paid for. He's probably going to be their setup guy. Marwin Gonzalez, super utility guy. Garrett Richards, Hunter Renfroe, Frenchie Cordero, all round out some additions. Subtractions, they lose Jose Peraza, Zue Lin, Jackie Bradley Jr. They trade Andrew Benintendi. Dustin Pedroia retires, and they lose the Hammerin, Rusney Castillo. And I guess I should also add Alex Cora as an addition as well. They get Alex Cora back from suspension and firing. I'll let you go first, Andrew, because I want to hear a non-biased take on the Red Sox.
Well, which one you want me to start with? We going best, worst case, or player to watch?
I would love best case, worst case.
I think worst case is you come in last place again. I would surprise me, but I think you have to say it. It has probably the worst case scenario, but I think with Alex Cora coming back, I think that does help them tremendously more than people think from a manager standpoint. I think it's going to depend on their health with the starting rotation. I know a lot of those guys were kind of up and down last year in terms of health issues, so we'll see what they get out of them. So worst case, I'd say last place again. And then best case, I'd say you find a way to get to third place. Because I can see you guys being out Tampa Bay if things go downhill for them. But I can't see the Red Sox getting up there with Toronto and the Yankees.
That's fair. I mean, this team is debilitated. It is not what it used to be. And I'm just happy now, Andrew, that I get to watch a ball club where I know who the starting pitcher is every day. I know the person that is out there. I've seen him pitch major league innings. It's going to be interesting to see how they all gel. I mean, I love Nate Eovaldi, but everyone else is pretty down on him. 4.43 ERA last year. Not the best, but I love Nate. I don't know if it's just because of what he did in the World Series, but I think he's got a lot of talent, throws hard. Eduardo Rodriguez is good coming back from COVID last year. I guess I should add him in additions too. He had a very bad case of COVID. He had myocarditis, some inflammation of his heart. So he'll be back. He's 100%, thankfully. And the real question is, what do we get from Nick Pivetta, Martin Perez, and I believe that's good old Garrett Richards out there and filling out the number 3 spot there. So it'll be interesting to see how this bullpen heads up, or this starting rotation heads up, because the Red Sox still had a great offense last year. It was still one of the best offenses in AL. And they just literally had the worst starting pitching ever. So I'm just excited to see that.
And it's a shame Chris Sale is going to miss the most of the season, because I've always been a Chris Sale guy.
He's going to miss the most of the season because the Red Sox aren't going to be good. And we're like, you know what, Chris, take another year. Take another year. Relax, dude. Player to watch for you, Andrew. I want to hear him. Who's your guy you're looking out for this Red Sox team?
I'm a little biased here again, just because I want to see him finally come into fruition. I've heard for the last 5 years, this guy's curveball is going to be one of the best in baseball. This guy can throw. His velocity is extremely high. This guy's all of this and that, but it never turned out. So I'm hoping the new location, because our pitching coach, I never liked, so I feel like he was always bad. But the guy I'm going with is Nick Pivetta, and here's why. because when I look at this Red Sox team, I was thinking about some of the other guys, but we already know Devers, we already know Bogarts, like we already know a lot of the other guys on the Red Sox. So for me, looking at this team, when you already know kind of what you're getting at a lot of that offense in that case, and I know there'll be other guys this year. One guy that sticks out to me is Pivetta because maybe he is a game changer. I mean, you just said it yourself, bringing him up, and what are you going to get out of him? So are they? I mean, are they going to be able to get a solid pitcher in return there from that trade last season? So I want to see Nick Pivetta take the next step with his breaking ball, take the next step, trusting his own fastball because he has a lot of trust issues with his own pitches. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do with a full year because he did come up with you guys late, right? Because I know he started down in the minors a lot last year.
I think he had a couple starts. Let me double check real fast, but I think we're back.
Did you exit out or something?
Yeah, actually, I hit an exit on the tab, so that's good for me. We'll cut that, but I hope you guys enjoy this reaction of me accidentally hitting a tab, exiting out of the stream. So that's great on me. I didn't get my over or my best case, worst case. My best case would be for this team to finish third. Probably, I'll go right there with you. I think they're better than the Rays. I think they could be better than the Rays. I should say that. I think they could be better than the Rays. And I think Andrew, don't you dare. I think
no, go ahead.
I think it'll be an interesting spot. I think if they're in contention, if they're right there, I have a feeling that Kyle Bloom will just continue making his little moves, continue making his puppet moves, and keep adding little guys and adding to the roster. My worst case is they finish behind the Orioles. They're not going to finish behind the Orioles again. They're going to finish in front of the Orioles in fourth place. And the guys who we think are there, that firm base, don't show out again. JD Martinez has another year where he struggles. Rafael Devers does not have a great year. Xander Bogaerts is injured on and off, and the acquisitions that kind make backfire. The Alex Verdugo don't take a step forward. Frenchie Cordero doesn't come up and you don't see him because of injuries or whatever, and all that good stuff. So those are my best case, worst case, and my player to watch is in fact Frenchie Cordero. They traded for him on the Andrew Benintendi trade. He will probably be their fourth or fifth outfielder. I think he'll be the bench guy to start off with. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think I've been saying interesting too much this episode, but I think it will be fascinating. There you go to see if he starts off with the squad. Is he going to be hurt? Right now, he's on the COVID list. But I expect him to be the third baseman, the left fielder every day for the Red Sox, playing the monster. He's got speed. He's got a little bit of power. I think Frenchie Cordero will, fingers crossed, make me forget about Andrew Benintendi.
Oh, you're never gonna forget Andrew Benintendi, but I'm excited. You hope that he's gonna be good. Just one because of the trade, two because of your love for Andrew Benintendi. But I think he eventually would become the starter in the outfield, or at least DH maybe. Yeah, I just think you guys. Yeah, I think you have to see the progression from him, and I think at some point with a guy like that, assuming, we both basically said they probably finish fourth in the division, you're going to be out of the race at some point in the season. That I think at some point you got to give him the at bats, whether you want to just believe that you're out of it or not. I think it benefits him and the organization as a whole to figure out what he's like with more at bats there. So I think you're going to have to hand it over to him eventually.
Yeah, and another player to watch, just another low key one. Kike Hernandez has been doing really well this spring training, so keep an eye out on him. Let's go to the MyBookie over unders here. Over under, Andrew, a very nice number here, 79.5. Remember, 500 is 81 games. Are the Red Sox going to finish above 500, Andrew? Is this real?
Unfortunately, I think not. But maybe you can convince me otherwise. We'll find out here in a few seconds. But give me the slightly under there with about 77 wins.
I'm going to go over. And like I said, I regret doing it last year because I knew they were bad. And I'm trying to take my bias out of this. And I'm going to bet this. I'm going to go over. Here's why. Literally last year couldn't have been worse. They lost their manager, and Alex Cora is so important. I would say he is the best manager in baseball. What he does to this team, it really brings the culture, it brings the jive back into each other. I think all the players from last year who were under Cora in the World Series years, I think they'll all take a step forward again. They'll come back to where they were. JD Martinez can now look at his videos on his iPad. You couldn't do that last year. I think that fucked him up a lot. He'll be the DH every day, and he doesn't have to worry about hitting or fielding anymore because we don't want to see him on the field ever again. And I think that like I said, the starting rotation last year was literally Nate Eovaldi, Martin Perez, and a bunch of slapdicks. Now it is Nate Eovaldi, Eduardo Rodriguez, who could be the number one by the end of the year. I think he will be. We've got Garrett Richards, who has struggled at spring training, but his last start, he went 4 innings and only gave 1 hit. That was awesome. Martin Perez, I love him. Perez Day has become a thing in Red Sox fans. Shout out to Venezuela. And your boy Nick Pivetta. I hope to see something from him. We literally got him for nothing. I mean, we traded. I believe that was the Heath Hembree and Brandon Workman trades, who both are not on your squads anymore. So we got him for free. And I would really like to see something from him. And will maybe Andrew a more deep cut here. I know I've been going on for a little bit here, a little deeper cut before we head out of here. Jarren Duran, he has been the talk of Red Sox spring training. He's our best center field prospect because we're kind of short on outfielders. He played in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean Series this year. He was the Caribbean Series MVP. They won the championship, his squad. You know who else is from Puerto Rico, Andrew?
Please inform me.
Alex Cora. Alex Cora was in Puerto Rico watching him do all these things while he was suspended. I think it was right after his suspension. I don't know how this shit works, but he was like kind of coaching him too. You know, he's watching him do his thing, and he's been showing out. We probably won't see him this year, even though I really want to. But Jarren Duran is the center fielder of the future for the Red Sox, and I'm very excited for that. And Bobby Dahlback, too. He's going to hit like 40 home runs this year and strike out an absurd amount of times.
All right. Hey, I never hated the Red Sox, so I'm always okay when they do well, especially when they beat out the Yankees. So I hope they prove me wrong with the 77.
Okay, Andrew. Well, this is a fun episode. Let's go ahead.
Got to do division rankings.
Okay, you're right. Because I did not want to do this one.
I've been waiting all episode to do this. So
go ahead.
The winner of the AL East will be the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
You can mark that down. I'm going all in on the Blue Jays this year.
Okay, so one of Andrew's best bets this year is Blue Jays plus 330. Mark that down. Blue Jays.
Actually, I am at 450. So
even better. Blue Jays 450. Whichever odds you want.
Number 2 Yankees, 3 Rays, 4 Red Sox, 5 Orioles.
All right, my order will be number 1 Yankees, number 2 Toronto, number 3 the Boston Red Sox. We're making the 3 seed. We're not even a 3 seed, whatever it is.
Hey, March Madness is in your head.
Yeah, third in the division. 4th, the Tampa Bay Rays, because their black magic finally starts wearing off.
But I'm the one that's down on the Rays too hard.
Yes. And number 5, the last place, Baltimore Orioles. So, yeah. Andrew hates Tampa Bay. He hates St. Petersburg. Again, generate all your hate to @AJ_Santangelo. So, Andrew, speaking of that, where else can people find you?
People can find me at Philly Sports Now podcast, which is a Philly sport podcast with going over every team with me and my brothers do. Chasing the Pennant podcast, which is strictly just Phillies. And then, of course, True Philadelphia Sportcast. And then, of course, AJ_Santangelo. And look out for any Pub Sports Radio articles I post about baseball. All
right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Again, we're pre-recording these episodes, so if something happened, like, I don't know, Giancarlo Stanton strains his oblique from swinging too hard.
Wow, well, you would put that curse on him. If he does, now you did just jinx that.
Now we won't know what happened. We won't know what happened, so we apologize in advance. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next week, Andrew, with what division, Andrew?
National League East.
The National League East. The second best division in baseball. It's going to be a fun division.
Oh, it's the best.
And a lot of good teams in this division. So we'll catch you guys next time. And until then, Gamble was